Okay, I'm back. Let's get back to it. All right. So, if we accept determinism, the question was, how can we make room for free will? How can we square those two? We can try to take a libertarian line. Okay, and this is what Sider considers. So, what is libertarianism? Well, it's the idea that there's something special about us. We're somehow different from other kinds of substances in Leibniz's terms. We have souls, if you want to put it this way. We are conscious. We have minds. We're rational. Okay, but how does this help? How is this supposed to help? That's the question. Well, it seems to introduce a different kind of causation. Not physical causation, not mechanistic causation, like billiard balls banging into each other, right, where you shoot one ball and it hits the other and it imparts momentum to it. That's physical causation, mechanistic causation. When we act freely, something is causing our actions in a different way. It's a different kind of causation. So notice that the claim can't be that our actions are uncaused. Right? That's one possibility. Well, the problem is that if we say our actions are caused, and then that chain leads back into the past and to causal conditions that we can't control, and so we are no longer responsible for our actions, or we're no longer causally responsible for our actions. Well, one way out of that is to say, well, our actions have no cause. But the libertarian can't really take that route, okay? Because this would equate free action with random action. If our actions have no cause, then it's just like a random event. But that severs the tie between freedom and responsibility. Right? We're supposed to be responsible for the actions that we freely choose to do, okay? But if the actions happen randomly or accidentally, then in what sense am I responsible for it, right? I'm no longer responsible for it. Right? So free action is something that a person chooses to do for a reason, not something that a person does by accident or randomly. That's why the concept of freedom is tied to the concept of moral responsibility. So we hold someone morally responsible for her free actions, right? Because we believe that she chose to do them for a reason. If we have evidence that she did it by accident, then we no longer hold her morally responsible for what she's done. Right? That's the idea here. That's the connection between freedom and responsibility. But that seems to assume, right, that our actions have a cause, right? If they're uncaused, then they're just random events. So free action can't be uncaused or random action. It must be, so the libertarian wants to say that it must be a different kind of causation, not mechanistic. And the libertarian calls this agent causation, or you could also call it rational causation, right? The reason is a cause in some sense. Well, so whatever that is, why isn't it bound by the laws of physics, right? Why isn't it bound by mechanistic laws like any other cause? That's the sort of puzzle. Well, here's the idea. When I am the cause, the agent, when I am the cause of my actions, I'm acting freely. What does that mean? Well, I could have made a radically different choice. My action was not predictable in the way that a billiard ball, like we have the billiard ball idea, right? When I shoot the cue ball at the 8-ball, right? If I know the angle of, and the velocity of the cue ball, then I can predict what will happen to the 8-ball, right? But when I am the cause of my actions, my action is not predictable. What I will do is not predictable in the same way. And that's the view, right? That nothing in the chain of mechanistic causes determines me to act, right? Not even my beliefs, not even events in my mind or psychological events, right? Not even mental states like beliefs and desires, right? Those states are themselves part of the mechanistic chain, right? So, right, if we think deterministically, right, I could say, well, my action is caused by my beliefs and desires, but my beliefs and desires themselves are events that have prior causes in the mechanistic chain. And so that doesn't really solve the problem, right? The libertarian has to say that agent causation is somehow different. Right? Okay, but look, now the puzzle is, well, if my beliefs and desires are not the thing in me that determines my action or causes me to do what I'm doing, well then in what sense am I the cause? What is it in me, if not my beliefs and desires, that is doing the causal work, right? What is it in me that's doing the causal work? the libertarian has to give an explanation of that. Can't just sort of throw up his hands, right? Without an explanation. Why? Because without an explanation, we lose the connection between freedom, free action, rationality, doing things for reasons, and responsibility, right? Being responsible for what we do. We could say that rational decision is doing the work, right? What's going on is that I'm making a rational decision, and that's causing me to act. And that's not reducible to a set of beliefs and desires. It's something that sort of explains my action by itself. But if that can't be, so if rational decision, whatever that is, if it can't be reduced somehow to the psychology of belief and desire, which is self-mechanistic, well then what is it, right? So here we have this sort of puzzle over here, this sort of picture. The libertarian wants to say that this is what happens when I act freely, and not everything that I do is a free action, but sometimes my action is caused by a rational decision. And the thought here is that nothing precedes that, like it's a first cause. It's the first cause in a chain of events that leads to my free action, which then has effects, but nothing causes my rational decision. It's its own cause. The mechanistic view is that, look, our psychology, our beliefs and desires are part of the causal chain. There are causal conditions that explain why I have the beliefs and the desires that I have. And those beliefs and those mental states cause me to act in predictable ways, right? So much of what I do is predictable behavior. It's just kind of caused by my belief, by my psychology, which itself has a kind of mechanistic explanation or a sufficient cause preceding it. But some of what I do, the libertarian wants to say, is different. Some of what I do is the result of rational decision making. The problem is the libertarian doesn't really have an explanation of what that is. Okay, so if we feel like there's no, adequate or satisfactory explanation, then maybe we have to give up libertarianism and move on to a different view. And that's where we kind of move into the compatibilist position, right? An alternative to the libertarian position, which we arrive at because we don't seem to be able to explain what this is, if not just belief desire psychology, which is itself mechanistic. Okay, so I'll pause now and we'll talk about compatibilism in the next video.